I can accept that Trump is a piece of human waste. That's exactly what he is. He's an inconsequential, except for the damage he's done to this republic, an inconsequential blip on the history of this country. Of course, he's gotten himself now a place in history forever. It's a negative place. It's a terrible, what a way to be recognized by history. You're the first ex-president to be found guilty of 34 felonies. Jesus Christ. I mean, talk about a claim to notoriety, right? The guy who was on CNN in opposition to George Conway, this guy Scott Jennings, who is a Christian fascist sycophant for Trump, Jennings made the argument that Trump's convictions would only help him politically because the convictions were done at the instructions of a Democratic New York prosecutor. Instructions. Wow. And then George Conway come back with that Jennings' response is everything that's wrong with the current Republican Party and the so-called conservative movement as a whole. I wonder why Conway or nobody has pointed out that the conservative movement, the Republican Party, does not exist anymore. It's dead. It's rotted. It's gone. It's the American Christian fascist party now. Conway says, quote, "This is the problem with the Republican Party. They are suffused with lies. I don't know why this network," he's referring to CNN, "is paying Scott to say those lies," end quote. And that drew kind of a response, brushback from Breonna Keeler, who chided George Conway for calling Jennings a liar on live television. Oh, you're not supposed to do that, even though he is a liar. She said, quote, "Scott is our colleague, and we're going to treat him respectfully as such." And Conway shot back, "Well, then he shouldn't lie." End quote. I guess Scott Jennings is the same to CNN as, I don't know. There's so many wonderful, decent, truth-telling guests, experts who show up on MSNBC. But I guess the equivalent with Scott Jennings is the same as with some of the spokespeople on CNN, on MSNBC. He shouldn't lie, Conway said. Oh, my God. Now, what are you aware of the first thing Trump did? Matter of fact, it wasn't just Trump. Trump was forced to sit there and listen 34 times to the jury foreperson say guilty, 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 on and on and on. But the first thing that was done on his behalf was to try, and they will succeed, they did succeed, in squeezing more money out of the terminally brain dead who insist that Trump is Jesus Christ's little brother or whatever, with fundraising appeals. I saw this morning online some of the ads that were sent out, the mailings that went out to past contributors to the Trump campaign. And it was just a deluge of lies and distortion and vomitous crap. But this is what Trump does. This is how he lives. This is what a grifter does. So his allies grabbed the verdict as if it were, well, to them it was something positive, because it means they could get more money out of the terminally stupid. Moments after Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts, this is according to Time magazine, Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, displayed sponsored posts that called the trial rigged and asked supporters to chip in to send Joe Biden a message. And in the post, as well as in multiple emails, Trump's little stubby fingers must have really got tired last night, sending out all the bullshit he put on his toy social platform. But one of the things he said was, "I am a political prisoner. I am a political prisoner. Oh, and then he has a new MAGA hat for these dumb shits to wear. It's black, solid black, to commemorate, according to the ad, this dark day in history. Now, the Republican fundraising campaign that handles Trump's appeals to the stupid and, takes their money from them, reportedly said that their website, where the contributions are logged, that it temporarily crashed within an hour of the verdict. On X, somebody in the Trump campaign said this, quote, "So many Americans were moved to donate to President Trump's campaign that the WinRed," that's the name of the agency, "the WinRed pages went down. We are working on getting the website back online as quickly as possible." End quote. Well, I believe that. I absolutely believe that this is one of the few truths that ever comes out of the mouths of anybody that works for or around or Trump himself, because they are incapable of the truth. During the break, I watched some of Trump's insanity, his so-called press briefing, where he didn't take any questions from anybody, of course, excuse me. But to me, what he sounded like was somebody who is absolutely insane. Nothing has changed. The guy is really, a madman. I want to mention Dave Fry again. He's my sponsor tonight. Thank you, Dave, very, very much. DaveFryMusic.com is where Dave lives. His message: it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next few months, and we're going to need Mike riding shotgun to get us through. That's why I'm a regular sponsor. You should do the same. Wahoo, brother. Thank you, Dave, very much. Wahoo, brother, indeed. Please keep us going. The next 4 or 5 months are going to be a mind fuck. You know it. I know it. Election day is going to be extremely violent, or the day after. You know it. I know it. So please keep this little podcast going. We're going to need each other, to put it bluntly. I'm not saying you need me. God knows you have all sorts of various sources from which you can get whatever kind of support or disagreement or agreement that you want. But it works both ways. I need to know that there are people that I'm connecting with who understand fully, in some cases to a greater degree than I do, what we are now facing. So please keep this little podcast going, okay? It's Friday. We have the weekend to raise contributions in order to keep us going next week. So please take advantage of that. Go to MikeMalloy.com, if you would, please. And there you will find all sorts of ways you can contribute. And as I always say, while you're at MikeMalloy.com, please check out River Moon Coffee, River Moon Wellness. In these times, a good cup of coffee is needed. Now, if you'll excuse me a minute, while I take another sip of River Moon Coffee. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you, Jeff, for coming up with a product that's so damn good. Try them, okay? There's not much I can say about the bullshit that he spewed out during his so-called press conference. The only time the crowd that was wherever he was talking, I have no idea. It was in a room somewhere. But the only time the crowd broke into cheers was when Trump talked about how much money they raised last night. Oh, the crowd went wild. Oh, my God. It is pointless and useless for me or anybody else to keep repeating that this guy is an absolute threat and danger to this country, and that the people who support him are equally a threat and a danger. And this year, what's left of this year, is going to be a backbreaker. And we're going to have to stay together. We're going to have to defeat the son of a bitch at the polls. It has to be done. I hope the young people in this country who do not care for Biden because of his policies in certain areas, I would just make a plea to them. And I did this in 2016, making a plea to people to vote for Hillary Clinton instead of Donald Trump back then, even though my candidate was Bernie Sanders. But after the primary, even though Sanders got fucked over after the primary, it was Hillary Clinton who was the nominee. And I begged, I cajoled, I even threatened about what was going to happen if people did not vote for Joe Biden or for Hillary Clinton. And look how it turned out. And look where we are now. And try, if you can, and this might be very difficult, try to imagine what it's going to be like 4 years from now if this orange bastard gets control of the White House again. I mean, I don't think we can. I can't imagine. All I see is chaos, debris, destruction. If you read my book, and if you didn't, that's cool. At the very end, kind of the epilogue to the book, is a fever dream I had 8 years ago, a long time ago. And when I wrote that, it had to do with a dream. But as I went back the other night and looked at that last few pages of the book I wrote, it's astonishing how predictive, how things turned out exactly, or are going to turn out exactly as I imagined in that hideous nightmare. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.